talked a little bit about that and what that was like. Spectacular thing. Again, I think you said you did 36 kilometers in the rover, is that right?
We covered 36 kilometers and probably, like Charlie, maybe we went as far as 5 miles away from the Lunar March. But I want to tell you, when we landed in a valley that was surrounded by mountains on 3 sides higher than the Grand Canyon is deep. And when you get out there around the corner, that lunar module gets very small at 5 miles.
I want to talk a little bit about the spacesuit. Suited up and ready for being on the moon. Take a look, on the cuff, that's your checklist.
That's the checklist we have for each EVA. We're out there 75 hours, so 3 days. We had a checklist, and our backup crew, thanks to people like Charlie, had nice little notes in it about things we better not forget to do while we're on the moon. You know, it wasn't all scientific and technical. You know, we played a few jokes on each other along the way, like sticking Playboy calendars in the flight plan and that kind of thing. But the checklist, and someone did a little artistic work on our checklist, but the checklist kept us on time. Time was our greatest asset simply because we had the opportunity to be there, but it's our greatest enemy because we never had enough of it. And right next to that checklist is the Omega Speedmaster.
There you go. Here's the watch.
Worn on the outside, right there. Right there, and as I say, we all used it for different purposes, for timing things. To me, it was sort of a window. I left it on Houston time. And I did that because time out there is what you make of it. But I left it on Houston time because we could look up there and see the sun rising or setting over Houston, Texas. I look at my watch, it says 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'd look up there and the sun would be rising. I knew my young daughter was getting ready to catch the school bus. And several hours later, I'd look back and it might be 8 or 9 o'clock. I look up there, the sun is setting on Houston, Texas. And I knew my daughter had said her prayers, we're going to bed. My security blanket. That watch, in addition to everything else for me, was a security blanket. And as I say, we all used it in different ways.
This is Apollo 17 footage, and
this is my scientist I took with me. This is science at work.
This is
Dr. Rock.
Dr. Rock, as they call him. And you guys got really dirty out there, didn't you?
It's not over Washington, I think this is it.
I got to show you this
We
shot.
tried to pull this tube up. We were down 6 or 8 feet. We were trying to pull it out of the surface.
Look at you, and this is you in the lab after a hard day on the moon. Look at the dust. How big a problem was the dust?
That was a big problem. Lunar dust was tremendous. It'd get all over everything. At 1/6 gravity, it'd kick up, and it'd go on your equipment. It'd go on your suit, on your visor, and when you look at it, that's maybe not even the 3rd day. Maybe that 2nd day, you look like a coal miner.
You look grimy there. There you are driving that vehicle. You were a little rough on the vehicle, right? What is the deductible on a rover?
What is what?
What's the deductible on the rover? Because you did have a little incident up there, which I believe you've never been able to live down.
All right.
Look at this fender.
All right, I knocked the fender. I'm the only car with 250,000 miles away, and I knocked the fender off. Okay? Where was the roadside assistance when I really needed it? Okay?
Called AAA, but they didn't show. Yeah, that same thing happened on Apollo 16.
I think you helped design this on the ground, didn't you?
Yeah. And John and I didn't fix it. So as we drove, this moon dust was raining down on us for 2 EVAs at least. And I mean, you just got filthy. Lunar dust wasn't a real problem. The whole surface is covered with this very, very fine dust like powder. And it was impossible to brush off. And so we got so filthy that when that same thing happened on Gene's flight, we said we got to design a temporary fix for that fender.
Just kind of a mini Apollo 13, whatever you got, right?
You could look at that fender very closely. We took 4 geology maps inside the spacecraft, taped them together, and clamped them on and made a temporary fender. But if you look at the fender very closely, you'll see some gray tape, duct tape. Never
All right, so this shot is an extremely remarkable shot. I want you to watch this. For my money, it's as cool a shot as any shot you'll see out of the Apollo era. And as I watch this, what I worry most about is the poor photographer who got left behind here.
Someone asked me who took these pictures.
I told you I had to carry this. Watch this. Watch what happens.
We thought it blew up when we were watching from the press center. It's the first time we saw an actual launch from the moon surface. And you got to remember, guys, there's no backup system. There's not a backup rocket on the pad at the Cape. These guys are entirely on their own. There's no crew up there to assist them. If that engine fails, they're stranded. This is the only ride home, right?
Well, the fact that they got this shot with the delay and everything else, they had to anticipate it, that was amazing. But what was that ride like?
Let me tell you something about that ride. You know, it's your way, it's your ride home. You got to get in the orbit and get with the guy in the mothership, otherwise you're not going to get home. But Charlie talked about Neil's margins when he landed. He came 250,000 miles away through space, lifted off with 450,000 pounds of propellant in that booster, and landed with 13 seconds of gas left, okay? Like I've heard Neil say that someone said that, well, you know, what do you think about A? He said, well, you know, even when the gate says empty, you know you got a few gallons in it. But in the liftoff case, off the surface of the moon, every flight was a little different. Your margins weren't measured in the amount of fuel you had, they were measured in the amount of time it took to get into orbit. And our margins were 7 seconds. We had to burn that engine 7 minutes and 14 seconds. We weren't going to overburn because I was going to shut it down. But if we burned 7 minutes and 7 seconds or less, we came back down to the moon. 7 seconds was our margin. So everything we did during Apollo, we were pushing the limits as close as we, otherwise we never would have got it done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, is there anybody here who believes we didn't go to the moon, that it was a hoax? Good. Do you know anybody who says that? Okay, I want you to go to the internet and point them to this shot, which was just shot within the past month by the lunar orbiter. This is your landing site, Gene. Apollo 17, just as you left it. It's there, and you can make out all kinds of things, including where you parked the rover, right?
Well, the rover's parked there, and if you really look at these pictures closely, someone told me they can even tell me I turned the front wheels to the left. It's incredible to be able to see these. And just in front of the right front wheel of that lunar rover, it says LRV, final parking spot, are my daughter's initials. Someone said, how long will they be there? And I said, forever, however long forever is. You know, which is part of the mystique of space. How long is forever? Time takes on a whole new meaning. Jack Schmidt and I tried to get them to take this picture many, many years ago with the Hubble telescope. You know what the answer was? It's too close.
Too close. Couldn't do it.
We're too close.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Well, this should settle those arguments. That and, you know, Buzz decking somebody here and there, right? Whatever it takes, right? That's a beautiful picture. Gene, was that right before you left?
No, that's the morning. That's the first thing we did when we got on the surface was plant the flag. Now, what's interesting about that flag, and many people don't know this, that flag hung over Charlie Duke's shoulder in mission control when Apollo 11 landed on the moon. We took it, and it now is planted at the Valley of Torres Letro at the Apollo 17 landing site. We took another flag with us and brought it back, and now that hangs at mission control. So this flag was hanging at mission control during Apollo 11.
So each of the landing sites, those flags still stand, but some flags were brought back as well. What